Good evening. The Archbishop of Canterbury has condemned the Church of England in Sussex for its appalling record in handling allegations of sexual abuse by priests. An interim report by Lambeth Palace blames a profoundly unhelpful and negative culture at the Diocese of Chichester for exposing children to wicked and shameful abuse.
Dr. Rowan Williams' unprecedented intervention followed a BBC South East Today investigation into Roy Cotton and Colin Pritchard, two priests who abused several children during the 1970s and 80s. Our Home Affairs correspondent Colin Campbell reports.
Using strong language, it is a damning report which again exposes disturbing concerns about the protection and care of children and vulnerable adults in churches across Sussex.
It's a pretty bleak and to use the word in the report, appalling history, which we need to face up to. There needs to be a shift of culture. The policy needs to be sound, and above all, it needs to be put into practice.
Dedicated to the scores of individuals abused by Church of England priests in Sussex, the report is highly critical of senior clergy. It says authorities were very slow to recognise what was happening and did not act with the rigour and expedition vital to all safeguarding work. There is also mention of a profoundly unhelpful and negative culture in parts of the diocese. The report that was released here at Church House in London goes on to say that there is deep concern within the Church of England for the Diocese of Chichester and its failure to properly protect children in its care. But it's not just past concerns that are mentioned in this report. It goes on to say that fresh and disturbing aspects of safeguarding failures keep rising to the surface. Targeted and abused as a child by two Sussex priests, Phil Johnson says the report is a significant step forward.
Generally, throughout this whole saga, victims have been treated appallingly. The whole process, the whole investigation process, has been purely driven by the victims and survivors of abuse. Without us continually campaigning for truth and justice, I don't believe they would have ever looked at any of these issues.
Convicted priests who've remained in position, clergy with multiple allegations of abuse, CRB checks that have not been acted on or obtained. It is these issues and more which prompted the Archbishop of Canterbury to undertake the investigation into the Diocese of Chichester. In a statement, Dr. Rowan Williams said today that the report confirms there have been many and long-standing failures in implementing a robust and credible safeguarding policy in the diocese, and that the flaws in safeguarding practice have put children and others at risk.
If the leadership team is not together around the issues and focused on it, things slip through, are not dealt with, recommendations made by reports are not followed up with immediacy and with urgency and with focus. These are the problems we've been facing.
The report says there are still deep problems in the Church of England in Sussex and that the Diocese of Chichester is still dysfunctional. The Archbishop of Canterbury has ordered it must remain under special measures. Colin Campbell, BBC South East Today, Church House in London.
So how did it reach this point? A BBC South East investigation in October 2010 revealed that two priests were allowed to work in East Sussex despite having previously been convicted of sexual offences against children. That led the Diocese of Chichester to appoint high-profile former judge Lady Butler-Sloss to investigate how this was allowed to happen. Her report found there'd been a lack of understanding of the seriousness of historic child abuse and that victims' claims weren't taken seriously, but it was later found that a bishop had given incorrect information to the inquiry. Earlier this year, 3 further retired priests in the diocese were charged with sexual offences against children. Then this month it was revealed that the Bishop of Lewes, Wallace Ben, had attempted to prevent a Criminal Records Bureau check on one of those priests from being dealt with properly. It detailed allegations of child sex abuse.
We've felt for a long time that there are ongoing concerns in the diocese. This report makes it very clear that those ongoing concerns must be dealt with and that the Archbishop's office is going to take responsibility until such time as the diocese is able to respond. So that again is a very serious criticism and shows that the concerns are there. Children are still not safe in the diocese until things are done properly.
So what does it mean for the diocese? Well, the report found that as of the 14th of June, there were 138 clergy in the diocese without current CRB checks. It emphasises that there must be 100% compliance with its safeguarding policy and that failure to do that is a disciplinary matter. But above all, it calls for a radical change of culture in the diocese so that the sanctity and dignity of children and vulnerable adults is protected.
The concerns are to ensure that the mistakes of the past, and there have been serious mistakes in the past, the structures of the diocese that might have led to those mistakes being made, these things have to be identified. We have to be very clear about shining a light on those areas of our life and correcting them.
Well, let's go now to our Home Affairs correspondent Colin Campbell, who's live for us tonight in Westminster. And Colin, this report could have a profound effect on the Church of England.
Yes, the report makes 32 recommendations to the Diocese of Chichester, but there are 12 separate recommendations made to the National Church of England. Now, amongst those recommendations is the suggestion that all clergy and bishops should be immediately suspended if there is a formal complaint made against them for failing to follow safeguarding policy. But there is also a recommendation which says there should perhaps be a change in legislation to ensure that disciplinary procedures against those clergy who fail to follow safeguarding practice is brought fit for purpose.
And East Sussex County Council has also raised serious concerns with Lambeth Palace.
That's right. Matt Dunkley is the head of Children's Services at East Sussex County Council. He's told us that he has for some time been trying to raise his concerns with Lambeth Palace and with the Diocese of Chichester. He's told us that he's been left deeply frustrated by the slow and ineffective response. He says that the key issue is that the Church still does not follow the strict safeguarding practices which other organisations must now follow. He says that he welcomes and accepts the recommendations that have been made, but says it's about implementation.
Thanks, Colin. Well, you can read the report into the Diocese of Chichester in full on our website, bbc.co.uk/Sussex.